All right, so this is how crazy CNN is, or at least Poppy Harlow, who I think represents the values of CNN pretty well. She's interviewing the CEO of YouTube about their efforts to tackle misinformation about COVID and how she has these experts and authorities reviewing videos that have any information about COVID to make sure that they match the official story. But even even the CEO of YouTube, it seems to be sort of taken aback by how much censorship and how much like control over information the commentator here on CNN thinks is appropriate and necessary. Watch.
Cure or anything that would even not be a cure, but just misrepresenting information with regard to COVID, that would be a violation of our policy. We have taken down hundreds of thousands of videos. We look at the authoritativeness of the source, and with any kind of COVID type of information, we make sure that's coming from authoritative sources. And then we put things like information cards underneath it where we link to the CDC or the local health authority in that country.
You guys have hired 10,000 people to help machines do this work, right? To help take down misleading and false information. And it's a really big step. But as we talked about, some of the stuff still gets through, right? And there are real life consequences to it getting through, life and death consequences sometimes. What about reviewing them first before they get up there so no one ever sees them?
I wish that this pot. Okay, there we go. How crazy this woman's fucking face is. She's gonna give this little. She looks so crazy. So she's saying any misinformation, and by misinformation, she just means info that is contrary to what the authorities are saying. Any misinformation gets through, there are life and death consequences. And so with this little crazy looking smirk, she says, what about reviewing the videos before they're put up? So having like some kind of, what would it be called? Some kind of screening, some kind of process of maybe getting a license like they have, I think, in other countries where you have to be tested and screened and certified by one of these centralized authorities before you can even start putting videos up online. That's probably, I mean, that's exactly what she would want, it seems like, with her crazy looking smirk. Watch. Back it up real quick.
Life and death consequences sometimes. What about reviewing them first before they get up there so no one ever sees them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, part of, you can think about that from a news perspective too. Like, let's say you had really important breaking news that was happening and we told you that there was going to be a 2 or 3 hour delay to be able to make that available. I'm not sure.
But that's different because that's actually happening. I guess I should have been more clear in my question, but I'm talking about false stuff, lies, dangerous lies.
Well, we would have to review everything, right?
Right, you'd be smaller for sure. It'd be different. You'd be smaller, you'd make less money, but it might be safer.
But it might be safer. It's the inflection on that. God, I hate this woman so much. She's really pushing for this. It would be safer if YouTube reviewed every single view or every single video that goes up onto their website before anyone views it and make sure that there's no misinformation in it whatsoever. And I think this, like I said, it even surprised Susan here.
You can think about that from a news perspective too. Like, let's say you had really important breaking news that was happening and we told you that there was going to be a 2 or 3 hour delay to be able to make that.
And that's a fair criticism or a fair counter argument to her saying, you know, what if you had a 2 or 3 hour delay before you put any news up because you wanted to make sure that there was no misinformation? And Poppy says, no, it's different because it's happening. As if to say, no CNN broadcaster or any other news broadcaster has ever put out misinformation, has ever misreported on the facts. I mean, and that's not even counting the propaganda efforts that they come out with and the fake stories that they invent. But I'm talking about just honest mistakes in their reporting. She's acting like that never happens and that all the news ever does is just report on what's happening.
But that's different because that's actually happening. I guess I should have been more clear in my question, but I'm talking about false stuff, lies, dangerous lies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, CNN has never put out any lies.
We would have to review everything, right?
Right, you'd be smaller, for sure. I mean, it'd be different. You'd be smaller, you'd make less money, but it might be safer.
God, I hate the way she says it. The inflection, look at Susan's face. I hate Susan, but she looks like she's fuming about this line of questioning. The implications that this crazy woman is putting out there.
I mean, look, we look across many different solutions, and you know, what we have seen is that by using the combination of the machines and the people, that we really have been able to make a huge impact. And there definitely would be, you know, if you significantly reduce the amount of content that's on the platform, you would actually limit a lot of things. You would limit a lot of commentary, a lot of the diverse voices that I think are really valuable on the platform.
I'm just wondering, as a journalist and as a mom, who's like, kids will be watching this stuff soon, you know, is the genie out of the bottle? Like, have you guys gotten so big that there's never a moment in time when you're going to be able to get it all down, to get it all off the platform?
She's thinking as a journalist and as a mom, more like as a communist and totalitarian.
I mean, just looking at the changes that we've made and the progress that we've made.
Susan's reaction, she's so like stunned by this questioning.
I mean, just looking at
in time when you're going to be able to get it all down, to get it all off the platform.
I mean, just looking at the changes that we've made and the progress that we've made as a whole, I think there's no doubt that, you know, we have done a huge amount of work with regard to responsibility. It's our top priority. I've been really clear that responsibility is our number one priority. And there's really nothing else that will become more important for us.
That's enough.
Well, we'll see, right? It'll be a big test whether they follow through on those promises. We're close to election. I mean, the election's well, we'll see, right? It'll be a big test whether they follow through on those promises. We're close to election. I mean, the election's already happening right now.
Yeah, and it's not just YouTube, right? It's what will YouTube do? What will Facebook do? What will Twitter do? What will Instagram do? Because
did you see that? Did you see? I'll show you one more time.
Just YouTube, right? It's what will YouTube do? What will Facebook do? What will Twitter do? What will Instagram do? Because
right there. The reptilian gesture. Fucking sticking her tongue out.